And the way the mental raise renderer works is it takes all the data to make one of those tiles and it sends it to one processor. So matter of fact, I'll show you something else while we're here that I will very often do while I'm rendering. Go Alt Delete, which will take a little bit. I start my task manager. I look at performance. There are processors. This machine really has 4 processors, then it has 8 hyper-threaded cores. What I want to get the most performance out of this is I want that pin to 100% as much as possible. Now, you'll see that's holding up pretty well. I'm actually going to turn down my update speed to see if we see a drop eventually, but we probably won't, which is good. I can increase the size of these tiles, and what it will do is it will send more information to a processor. The drawback is at the end it might take a little bit longer to finish. That is over here, tile size. I'm going to increase these to 128 by 128, and what will happen when it takes it, these tiles will get much bigger. I'm going to jump forward 1 frame too to convince it to take that, and I'm going to put this back up there. And you saw that drop? That drop was just, you see it right there, a little peak? That's what it was deciding to take the different sizes. And now, do you see how big those tiles are now? It's now taking more stuff and dumping it to a processor, which might offer me a really good speed boost because it gets more data to the processor, so the processor's just whacking away at it longer. But you can play with that. You don't have to, again, you could just say go and go with it from there. There's several other settings. There's a lot of other settings on here. I would like to someday do a whole course just on rendering, but it would be a pretty boring course if you weren't into rendering. So for now, I'm going to say I'm fairly happy with that. Rajiv makes an excellent point, a very, very important point. File number padding. I go back over here, I think. Is it under scene options? Let's go check. I'm going to close this for a sec. You're saying there. Wow, I didn't even know that was down there. It'll show up. There we go. Wow, scene globals. Isn't that interesting? And this is going to be the actual place it puts it. My padding. This is really important. It's funny because this says scene globals, but I'm not certain it's using them, but we'll get back to that. Padding implies how many zeros I have before my first image name. I can show this to you as a better way of doing this. And I'll show you how important this can become. As I told you, I rendered some of this stuff already, and we will look at that. And this is a file management issue, a very important one. So important, I'm going to stop this render because it will give me some more resources to use. Good. And I'll show you, if we go in here in render pictures, this is where I would have put it. This is file padding. Do you see how that goes 98, 99, then 100? And it goes from 2 digits to 3? That can create a sorting problem. The sorting problem is that some programs they will just look at the first digit to sort. So some programs, and it's oftentimes things like After Effects and compositing programs, they want to see zeros before that, so that the first frame would be 0001 rather than 1. If I go over here and I tell it, under my seed render options, to pad like that, it should then show me, let me check my project path, over here, edit. Yes. Do you see how that says the resolved path is default path main period 08185? That's different than if it said 185. That actually will be advantageous to me. It will write things out in a format that sorts easier, especially if I'm going between different systems like Apple or some sort of Linux system. That can be very useful. I'm going to save again because I've made some changes. Save as. And I'm going to save this as 20. Okay. I won't mess around with anything else right now. This is the scene I would be ready to write out. And I told this to write out frames 200 to 210, I think. At this point, if I go to render current pass, it should start. And you'll see it went to frame 200, and if we throw up our processor stuff, it will start to go to 100%, which is what it should do, and it's going to start writing them out into that Z directory. Now I'm gonna stop our video for a bit. Capture. Once your rendering is done. When your rendering is done, if you go into your directory, which in this case is on Roto, which is the Z drive, 3D Rock, render pictures, those are the captures for those quick captures. These are the actual renders themselves. And you'll see they're a sequence of images. If I step down, you should be able to see the icons. I also can do this. It will show me when I get down there. Will hopefully show me these actual TIFF files. See them? Default pass main. So these are individual image files. They should probably each be about 4 or 5 megs, which is right. When they all write in, you could actually scroll through it and get some idea what we're talking about here. Now we have to assemble these into a movie. We have a number of choices for this. I'm going to show you After Effects because I think it's the quickest. I think. What do you think, Rajiv? Probably? Yes? Okay. I'm going to go to After Effects. You could also do this in Photoshop, strangely enough. You could do it in Premiere. There's a few, I think you could possibly do it in Media Player Classic, but I'm not certain. I know it works in After Effects. What we have to do here is we have to take the files in, we have to compress them into some sort of movie file and then send them to YouTube. So I'm going to ignore that. I'm going to hit close, and I'm going to go to Composition, New Composition. I know that I want to be 1280 by 720. 24 frames per second is right. My sequence length was going to be 30 seconds, so 32 is fine. I'm going to hit OK. Now, I want to point something out to you here. I only rendered, I think, 120 of these frames so far. I would have to wait. I would have to render more of them. I don't want tiles. I want details. If we go down here, we can see that. I've rendered up to 168, and maybe I got 200. No, 200. Do you see how 200 is the wrong size there? That means it's garbage. I'm going to delete it. Anything that is 1K is not the right size. So I only have 168 of them, but it's enough for me to show you what's going on with it. I'm going to go here. I'm going to import file. I'm going to go to that same drive, my Z drive. I'm going to go 3D Rock. I'm going to go Render Pictures. And I should be able to find the first one, which is there. And now see how it says TIFF sequence? I hit open. And there are 2 frames that went bad. That's okay. I'm going to have it guess and hit OK. And this now should be my sequence. Now note something. That says 30 frames a second. I want these to be 24. So I'm going to have to modify that. Let's assume 24. Okay. So it's saying it has 7 seconds of footage, which is probably about right. Let's drag it over. And this is the first time we would ever possibly see it. You know what? I should shrink this down because I won't be able to see that part of my screen otherwise, like that. Good. That's better. Although I have to move a couple things around here. This is just, you know what I bet I can do? I bet if I switch my workspace. Yeah, that's a little happier. Okay, so I have 7 seconds here. I'm actually going to reduce my work area. And when I hit this button and I let these load in, this is the first time I'm going to see the actual animated thing. That was one of the missing frames. I'll actually show you how to deal with those. It's a dirty trick from the annals of animation that we're going to use to deal with those. A trick I've actually used on many movies you've probably seen. Remember, this isn't the real-time one yet. When it gets to the end, that will be the real-time one. So this is the real-time 24 frame per second thing. There's those 2 flash frames in there. I want to deal with those flash frames because they distract otherwise, right? Here's the dirty trick. Anybody ever seen the movie Copland? Oh, good. It doesn't surprise me that you didn't.